All righty. Y'all know what time it is, man. Arthur Moats in the building. And you see, I'm joined by one of the guys. One of the guys that was new a year ago. You're not new anymore, Tyler. All right. All the shorts that you've dropped on the channel, and the fact that I've actually seen how many people are viewing the shorts, it lets me know they actually like you. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
not the fake stuff. They really do like you. So it's like, you know what? It's time, man. It's time. You was killing the small portion. Hey, new opportunities have opened up, and now, man, let's see how my man Tyler, how he can come up here and drop some takes and defend how he feels about the black and gold. And I do like that Pittsburgh gear you're wearing as well. Just want to throw that out there. All right.
Do it. Let's do it. Yeah. I tried to interact with a lot of the commenters too. A lot of them like come at me, so like I try to like
They do,
I,
man.
I
They
try, I
definitely
try to
do.
like oh well this is why I said this. Like it's all right. I'm not used to the hate sometimes.
Yeah. I love it. It comes with it, man. It comes with it. But get them up off for you, man. Just get them up off for you. But man, let's get into this thing, man, because obviously we know right now the big talk all offseason has been the quarterback, and more importantly, what direction the Steelers are going to go in. About 2 weeks ago, we heard Mr. Rooney, the big boss man, the head honcho, come out and basically say that he's interested in both Russ and Fields. He wants one of those guys to be back, but obviously doesn't think that both guys will return. And he's trying to see, whichever way we go, but he does want one of those guys to be the priority in terms of bringing them back for 2025. Then
Right.
you fast forward about a week ago, you get Jay Glazer on Super Bowl media row, and my man is like, yeah, he's asked about Russ coming back, and he before he talks specifically about those answers, he prefaces by saying that, man, I've been texting with Coach Tomlin, who we know, Jay Glazer and Coach Tomlin, they do have a good relationship, man. They got a history and stuff like that. He says after communicating with him, he feels like Russ is definitely not coming back. And with Fields, doesn't seem likely, but like I said, it still could be there, but he just doesn't see that happening either. So that obviously sent all of Steelers Nation into a panic or some excitement, depending on your perspective on it. But obviously, man, I said, shoot, man, we done heard my take, man. I've been talking to TG about it. We hear the chat about it. But I said, man, we gotta give you a little bit longer format to drop how you truly feel about this situation. Because we got a couple options on the table. You could obviously go back with Russ. You could obviously go back with Fields. Or my other favorite, for the content purposes, obviously, you got the field, whether that's draft or free agency. So, Tyler, talk to me, baby. How are you handling this 2025 offseason QB search? What we doing, baby?
I feel like it's really just like it's extended from last season. I feel like that was the question during the whole season, before the season, during the season, like it never really changed. I will preface this. I know the fans probably aren't going to like this, but I want to say first, congratulations. Congratulations to Kenny Pickett on
Ah,
winning the Super
let's go.
Bowl. I had this and I've had it put away for a long time. I felt this is a perfect opportunity because you told me we were talking QBs today. So I want
Respect. Respect. Oh man. I like your energy. I like your energy, Tyler. I like your energy. Oh man.
I'll start there. Probably not a good start, but this is tough because now did you hear Schefter the other day? He said that
I
I
did.
mean, could you see Russ posting on like Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Twitter like he's
And
back,
for those that don't know, give them what Schefter did put out there, just so that way everybody's
yeah.
clear on it. Yep.
Yeah, Schefter went on Pat McAfee show and basically was like he talked to Russ during the Pro Bowl weeks and basically said Russ was like pretty confident that he's talking to the team and he's planning on coming back. Russ also went on Pat McAfee show I think a couple of weeks ago too and
Yeah.
basically said he's
Yeah.
in talks as well. So
Yeah.
it's confusing because if you go on Russ's social media, you would think like unless he's just like
He's
playing,
all the way back, right?
yeah, like so that's weird because now we have conflicting reports of
Yeah.
Glazer and Schefter. So now it's like
Well,
I
shoot,
don't know.
between you got Glazer, who said that he's not back. Like you said, Shefty is kind of in support of him being back. Then you have Mr. Rudy, who says, I just want one of the two, but I don't know which one. And we're all just kind of up in the air with it. But when you
Mhm.
think about Glazer, I mean, obviously, Glazer and Coach T, they got a history. So if he's saying that and he's hearing it, I mean, it's got to be some type of fire where that smoke is, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where That's where I feel like Russ isn't coming back, just because I feel like
Okay.
Glazer was on it when Russ was the guy and Tomlin
Yeah.
was the one basically behind it, like the only one behind it seemed
Uh-huh.
like. So that's why I feel like that's where we're at with that. Personally, this is where I'm at on the whole thing. I've been so mixed feelings, but after how last season ended and kind of how Russ started really good and I loved it, and obviously it didn't end great. It wasn't
Hey,
all his
look,
fault.
we saw the shorts. You were going hype. You was hyped for him, man. I seen the shorts.
I
I even was
know,
liking them.
I
I
know.
said, go ahead, Tyler. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I was pro Russ going into the season, so like
Yeah.
always wanted Russ, and then Fields kind of threw me for a loop a little bit because I didn't
Okay.
really expect him
Okay.
to play how he played. But then Russ comes in and does his thing for a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is great. Struggle at the end of the season, and this is where I'm at with it. I as much as I want us to be an 11-6, 12-5, win the division team.
Yeah.
I don't know like where we're at with that yet. Like we're still kind of until we get that like franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
We're probably still in that 10-7, hopefully 11-6 type
Oh.
of thing. I know
Ah.
we're kind of
Ah.
spoiled. We're spoiled, and like I hear it from fan bases all the time. Like, oh, like we wish you could just make the playoffs every year, but I want more than that. Like I
Yeah.
see it. It's so
Yeah.
much different than like liking the Jets or something like that. But at this point, I want to
Shots
go.
fired.
No, I mean, I hear it from like Jets fans that I know. They're like, I can imagine like making the playoffs every year. I'm like, yeah, but you don't
Yeah.
get it. Like me making the playoffs and losing every year is like the
Yeah.
same thing as you not making the playoffs.
Right.
Like it's
Y'all just see it differently because y'all are like losers. That's all.
exactly,
We win a lot, but we're used to like big winning. So if we're not big winning,
exactly,
we feel like we're like you guys, like losers. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So with that being said, I know there's a bunch of other options, and we can
Yeah.
touch on Aaron Rodgers a little bit in a second. But I want to touch on
Ooh. I was
yeah,
gonna say, I'm just since you bring it up the Jets, you bring it up Jersey like
I
that. Yeah, I'm
know,
just
I
trying to say,
know,
man. Hey.
but I think Fields, we got to go with him.
Okay.
Two things. I think he's going to be a lot cheaper that we can use the cap
Yeah.
to sign somebody else, like maybe a T Higgins. Probably we'll
Hey, hey,
see.
hey, come on now. You hey,
Somebody
don't
else.
package it together now.
We need some weapons we need weapons on offense. Like we really do. I've been hearing about Debo Samuel too. Like I mean, not that
Hey,
he'll be too
everybody that's grown up right now, you know how it is.
yeah, you know how it is. But I just
Mhm.
think that like Fields, I think I he played really well. I don't think I think he's still got a higher ceiling than Russ. He can move. That was
Yeah.
a big thing with me. I was screaming at the TV, throw the ball, throw the ball. And he's too slow. Like, and he did actually pick up run here and there, but like to
Yeah.
get out of the pocket a lot, like Fields does take a lot of sacks too, like Russ, but at least he can make some like crazy play
Yeah.
out of it.
Very true.
And Fields can take off for 60 at any point, like on any of that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. So I just feel like if we're going to kind of be in the same situation as we were going to be, that's why I'm leaning Fields. You got a guy who's 25, 26 probably going into
Mm-hmm.
next year compared to a guy's going to be like 35, 36 going into next year.
Hey,
So,
hey, hey, easy on the
hey,
35, 36 year olds. All right, easy on the 35, 36. All right, geez.
hey, for playing purposes, I want to see what we got because if we can bring him in for
Yeah.
like a 2-year deal or something like that, like you can kind of see, okay, play this year out. And you know what? I know we don't want to see this as Steelers fans, don't even want to hear it. But if we stink, like it's just awful, then you get your guy because I know you'll see Steelers fans say, why don't we just go 3-14? Like,
Well, hey. So Tyler, I gotta ask you then, man, because you can touch on that a little bit more, man. As a fan,
yeah,
could you really endure the bad season?
and you want to
Even if there isn't this guarantee that, hey, it's a 2-year bad season window or it's a 3-year window. What if it's 5? What if it's 10? I mean, we see a lot of the teams that have tried this approach of, man, it's only going to be 1 year of being bad, then I'm going to bounce right back. But unfortunately, everybody doesn't get that Philadelphia Eagles type, go from nothing to something, that Bucks type go from nothing to something. Typically, it's the alternative, right? Where yeah, they just really suck, and now they spiraling, and before you know it, it's like the Jets y'all used to be can't wait, and now we're over here like, who's the new quarterback? Who getting fired next year, man? Who y'all bringing in here now, man? Like, so I'm just as a fan, could you really
well,
think you'd be open to that?
it's so tough because in my full time being a Steelers fan, I've never seen a losing season ever. My
Think
whole
about it,
time.
man.
So
That is
like
crazy.
so as much as I think that you're kind of right because I don't think I could go into like watching a game on Sunday and being like, oh, we're probably gonna like I don't care who we play. We could play
Yeah.
the
You always
Chiefs.
feel good.
Because I think we have a chance to win. Like I have never
Always.
really went in thinking we don't. Like as much as like sometimes I have like doubt,
Yeah.
like they're better than us. But I'm like
Hmm.
we still can win if we do this,
Yeah.
this, and that. But
Yeah. You can
I
always
know
see
I
a
don't
way,
know.
a path to victory. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I don't. I think we need it. I think we need it. I hate to say it. I don't think I could fathom watching it, but I think
Yeah.
we need it. Like imagine it's not going to happen, but the best case scenario is like let's just like suck and let's get Arch Manning and that's our guy.
Okay. Hey, hey,
That's what I
oh,
would like.
wait.
In
Okay.
the
Okay. So
world.
Archie's your guy.
Yeah,
I can dig it. I
yeah.
can dig it. Yeah.
That's what I would like. We're not going to get there, but if we had,
Yeah.
that's what I would try to get to. Not going to happen. Like Tomlin, he's never gonna have a losing season. He's gonna get the hate, and they're gonna say, "Oh, he
Yeah.
just cares about his winning seasons."
Yeah.
I feel certain ways about it, but as long as he's there, they're never gonna have a lose, like, or at least be
Yeah.
like
He's too
close
locked
to
in,
it.
too competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always gonna be competitive. So
Yeah.
with that
I
being
mean, but
said,
never
that's
say
why,
never though, right? We did
yeah,
see Andy Reid in his final year in Philadelphia only win 4 games. We did see
yeah,
Bill
true.
Belichick during his final season in New England only win, I believe it was 3 games. So we've seen some of the all-time greats completely flame out, bottom out when people didn't think that that could happen either. So, I mean, hopefully it doesn't get to that, but it always could though. That's all I'm saying. There's a possibility. Yeah.
Let's be honest. That New England roster was horrible though,
This is
but they
also
did
true.
make the
This is very
playoffs
true.
the year
They
before though,
did.
which
Come
is
on, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did. So that is crazy too. But
Yeah.
I will say, with that all being said, that's why I think you roll with Justin Fields, just because he's the
Okay.
younger, cheaper, like more athletic, higher ceiling. Like that's kind of the talk was this year, but now we've seen it happen. Like I
No,
wanted to see
absolutely.
Russ play, so we've seen it. So we know what we got. I don't think it can get like he can probably we still lead us to a winning season, but
I would
I
agree.
want to
Yeah.
see where we can get to with the younger guy. If it doesn't work, then you can find your guy in the draft. With that being said, backup wise, I don't know what they'll do. I think personally, if they're going to
Are
get
you
Fields,
drafting your backup? What you doing?
that's why I want to ask you because
Okay.
like you being like because for Field, like personally, I think I've told you I would want to draft. People are against me on this. I want to draft Jalen Milroe. Similar kind of
Let's
games, but I just want to
go.
see because I feel like, and I'm not saying they have the same game, but I feel
Yeah.
like we
They're
missed
very
out on
similar though.
Hurts when we
They're very
drafted
similar.
Claypool. Like we
Hmm.
missed out on Hurts that one year, and we could have
Yeah.
drafted. Like I know there was talks for a while. I don't want to miss the same thing again. Probably in a similar round. Probably I don't know what round he'll be in. Probably later in the draft,
Yeah.
but
It's not gonna be like first. Yeah.
exactly. So I would like to see that just because then you got Fields 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you just go to Milrow. But I think it's good to kind of have that fresh start. Obviously, we
Okay.
tried to pick it, but this wouldn't be a first round quarterback, so I don't think it's gonna like screw you up too much. But I want to hear what you think. If you have a guy like Fields who's 26 or 25,
Hmm.
and then do you feel more comfortable bringing in a guy who's like a vet
Yeah.
as a
Okay.
backup? And then do you also want him to have the vet that you bring in, just like I said,
A
Milrow,
similar
if you
style.
want him to have
Yeah.
a
I get what
similar
you mean.
game because obviously then you have to change up the offense when
Hmm.
a different guy comes in.
Yeah, so I'm still processing through, man, honestly, because you think about it, Russ and Fields last year, similar yet very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of them would still fall under the more athletic profile than not, but Fields' athleticism compared to Russ's athleticism, very different ends of the spectrum. But the flip side was also Russ's touch, anticipation, ball placement compared to Fields. That was where his separation was. So even with the difference of approach, I felt like at times it would be good because schematically, if there is a week where you're kind of undecided or there's a guy come back from injury, from the defensive perspective, they're having to spend a lot more time preparing for 2 different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Flip side is this though. If I want to have a consistent message from start to finish, QB1 to QB2 to QB3, and I think of the Ratbirds, right? Baltimore Ravens and what they were doing
Exactly.
with Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, or Lamar Jackson and RG3, who to me I thought was the perfect backup quarterback type scenario because you had another high pedigree guy that you would feel confident if he needed to play. But at the same time, he was at that stage where he was at peace with being a mentor. He wasn't trying to beat out Lamar. He was trying to make sure Lamar was going to flourish, develop, and see things that he needed to see. If we're getting that type of veteran, and that could be a Jacoby Brissett type, but Jacoby doesn't fit the athletic profile. I would like that. Jameis, but I think Jameis is going to be a little bit too pricey. And once again, athletically, his profile isn't the same. but a guy like that, where I think he would be more of a supportive person to also, help him in his development while also being enough of a competition to make sure Fields doesn't feel like it's just given to him.
Right.
But just trying to find that particular guy is a little bit challenging to me. So if I can't find that specific guy, then I'm going the alternative. I'm going to go with the Jalen Milroe type or Will Howard type or whoever I can find in that second round time frame. Or if I'm fortunate, I see, hey man, these quarterbacks are sliding down and maybe I get it in the third, then great. But that's how I would probably approach it if I couldn't find that veteran who has that athleticism, but at the same time, I don't have to necessarily worry about them being cancerous to that room or making Justin Fields feel threatened. I want him to feel like he has to compete, but I want him to feel like he's the A side in the competition. Whereas I think this past year, it was a competition between him and Russ, but he was the B side in the competition.
Right.
And it's just a different perspective when you're punching up versus when you're punching equal or punching down. And I want to see Fields, if we were going to run it back with him, I want to see him in a position where he can be really confident, but at the same time, no, this isn't some slouch that we just signed off the couch. This actually is a guy that we could see a future in the same way Carson Wentz was there when they drafted Jalen Hurts. And you saw how that whole situation played out. I look at it in a similar vein and I say, Justin, you got the keys to the car. You're in the driver's seat, baby. If you do it the way you're supposed to, who cares?
Right.
But if not, just know I already have another driver in the wings and I'm waiting on him. I'm excited about him. And I just think that, for me, I feel like that competition is going to do one or two things. It's either going to make Justin elevate his game to that consistent week in and week out performer that we all think that he's capable of being, or it's going to give us a clear, defined answer that this guy is not the answer. And we're glad that we drafted or brought in whoever we did. And now we're starting to look at, all right, how do we feel about that guy? Or is it all right, maybe we let this play out and then we go get Quinn Ewers, like how you said, or not Quinn Ewers, excuse me, Arch Manning, like you said, you know what I mean? Like maybe we go that approach. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it from what I would do in the immediate, what I would do for this season, and then kind of the ripple of what that could lead into the next season as well.
Right. I like that. I like that take because I was thinking, like you said, the Ravens, like they have the similar style backup. So even if Lamar went down a few times, but they still
Think
kind
about
of
it.
like staying in games and
Tyler
playing
Huntley became
smooth.
a Pro Bowler solely because the scheme was the exact same. And because you can't, in terms of trying to play for that on a week in and week out basis, it's matchup tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a tough matchup too, especially on a short week. Yeah, you can see where Huntley was even able to come in there and have some success. It was like, hey, bro, how you get that Pro Bowl, man? Like, that's crazy. But
I had a laugh about that Pro Bowl when you mentioned it, though.
hey, man, we all did. I was still shocked. I'm like, we was down bad. How'd that happen?
All right, what's more? Wait, what's more of a shock on that Pro Bowl or Russ Pro Bowl?
Hey, look. I'm still gonna go Tyler Huntley, and this is why. With Russ, I said, man, if all these are equal, you're gonna go with the name, you're gonna go with the legacy. And for Russ, that was his 10th Pro Bowl nomination,
Yeah.
which puts him. It's only 4 people that have as many or more in the history of the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's helping his Hall of Fame.
You see what I mean?
resume.
Like, yeah. So I'm like, whenever it's close, it is to the point where we're talking, all right, who are we looking around to? Yeah. If Aaron Rodgers would have had a more consistent season, he would have been up there. You know this. Because if you're getting to the point where a Drake May is the guy, we're all agreeing that, all right, everything is down right now. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a down year. Yeah, it's a down year. And with that, you just start to look at, okay, well, who are the legacy pieces? Who are the people that played well enough, but, with certain things going on where, yeah, you weren't the first or the second option. Probably weren't the third option, but you still can be an option. And I think that that's the reason why we do the Pro Bowl. It's, somebody has to get this recognition based on the season that we have and based on the amount of people that do play quarterback. That's the other part. Because, I mean, even with Phil, it's like Phil still played. Now, I think if he would have played longer, I think that he would have even been in consideration. It was just he played just 6 games. I think if he would have got to that 10-game mark, I think that he would have been in that consideration, especially when you're just looking at the numbers for some of them other guys. But yeah, I'm like, Russ, that Pro Bowl is like when I looked at Ray Lewis's last 3 Pro Bowls of his career, I'm like, ain't no way. Ain't no
legacy.
way.
No,
Yeah,
100%.
it's legacy pick right there, man. Yeah,
No, I get that for sure. But I do like what you're saying though about a Jameis type because I want
yeah,
Justin Fields going to the season knowing he's the guy. But yeah, you still kind of
yeah.
might be on your toes a little bit because this year
Mm-hmm.
it was a little weird because
Yeah.
I feel like people were split 50-50 during the season. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want Russ or do you want Fields? And it was so
Yeah.
weird because I feel like and maybe he said it in the maybe the players knew, but obviously
Yeah.
Tomlin never lets the media know anything. So it
Mm-hmm.
was always like, oh, even when Fields was starting. It's week to week. Like we'll
Yeah.
see, Russ is still hurt. Like it was just like a
Mm-hmm.
thing. It was always a weird. Although it seemed like the
They
relationship was
they
good, it was
never committed to Fields
yeah,
publicly, but they
yeah,
always committed to Russ.
right,
Even the competition for Fields, he never got QB1 reps when Russ was healthy. He got all his QB1 reps when Russ hurt his calf first day of
right,
training camp, and that was why we got a chance to see Fields almost exclusively throughout that process. And he really did well. But that's the part to me at the same time where I'm like, yeah, we never really got the competition. You know what I mean? Like, I never got a chance to see those dudes having to go battle for battle. All right, preseason game for preseason game. It was pretty
right,
much like predetermined almost that Russ is going to be the guy. Now, granted, we also know that their coaches they're watching all the practices stuff like that, so
right.
they're privy to a lot more info than we are. But to me, it was still just like, dang man, y'all never moved off of him, like never even publicly considered it. So that's the part that made me wonder, well, what were y'all seeing in the classroom? What were y'all seeing on the practice fields? Because clearly something had to be taking place to make you hesitant to publicly say
Right.
that this is our guy. And
Ye-
they still haven't done it just yet. And that's the other part. I'm
Right.
like, we
No.
had the last 5 games. We saw what that scenario looked like. We saw what the first 6 looked like and everything in between. And they still won't come out and just say, you're ready to move with Phils. They're like, hey, man, I don't know yet. I could either one. Either one. Yeah.
Yeah. You being in like the locker room, do you like the players like do you think they know and they have a sense or you think they don't he doesn't even let them know?
You have a feel for who they might like, but when it's
Yeah.
business involved and these contracts about to come up, that's the game changer because now it's what is your number? If Phil's is like, man, I want to get 20 million, and Russ is like, I'll come back for 10. That's the game.
Yeah.
That changes
Yeah.
everything. And let's be
Yeah.
real. There is a scenario where Phil's could say, I want 20 million. I didn't get my 5th-year option picked up. I didn't get a chance to hit the market. I know I'm a capable guy. Y'all saw what I did in 6 games. Sam Darnold's about to get 35 to 40 million. I can go get 20 somewhere. I can go get 15 and some incentive somewhere. And Russ, on the flip side, you listen to how he talks. You listen to how pro Pittsburgh he is, almost to the point where he's like, I will come back for the same $1 million deal that you were just paying me because I just want to be here. That's a game changer because Fields, regardless of the optimism, regardless of the potential, if Fields is going to cost you $10 to $15 million, then Russ, you're not going with him. You're just not because the talent, the production is not that big of a gap in his favor just yet. So that's the part that as the player, you're just looking at that. You're like, this could get weird because most Russell Wilson type quarterbacks, they're not coming back for anything less than $35 million. Like that's what Russ is. That's the type of quarterback he is. There isn't a debate. That's his market. So when you talk about why he was even here, was because he was here on an outlier contract, $1 million what they cost. How do you say no if that's the number? And that's the part that I just personally don't know. And as the players, we just don't know that part because that changes everything. If Fields wants more and Russ wants substantially less, which we know he's capable of doing, just for the simple sake of being here in this location, because he feels, man, another Super Bowl postseason run is cementing his legacy. Whereas for Fields, it might be, I just need to prove that I can be the guy. Like, I'm not worried about necessarily winning the Super Bowl year right now, but I need to just prove that I'm good enough to be the guy. And that might be, you got to go to Jacksonville. You might have to go to Carolina. You might have to go somewhere random. Whereas for Russ, he's like, man, I need legacy. Me me being the first Steelers quarterback to be a Pro Bowler since Ben Roethlisberger is a legacy piece. Let me be the first quarterback since Big Ben to win a playoff game or get them back to the Super Bowl. That adds to his legacy. You see what I mean? So that's the part where I'm just like, I don't know how that plays out with those numbers because of that part right there.
Don't get me on the
It's gonna
Russ
be
train
interesting,
saying
baby.
all that.
It's gonna be interesting, man.
Don't get me on the Russ train
Well,
thinking
because
about
the problem is this though, Tyler. We all saw it was a window where we all were dropping the same videos talking about pay that man whatever. We love what we're seeing. So we can't unsee that. It's just the recency element of those last 5 and how we feel about that emotionally. Even though we all would agree there were a lot of other variables, that still we can't unsee, we can't unfeel. And I think that's the part that's going to continue to make this thing interesting. But who, baby, we're going to keep this thing going. You know, this is not the last time we're going to talk about this thing, man. We're going to keep it going. You know that. But Tyler, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you, man. All right. So with that being the case, man, we're going to keep this thing rolling. We'll spin the block like we always do, but definitely appreciate you rocking out, man. And y'all already know in the comment section as well. Let me know how y'all feel about what Tyler was talking about. Huh? Tyler said, man, I got time. We defend. I got time. All right. But definitely hit that like button and subscribe. Shout out to the KPA. Let's get it. Let's get it. And until next time, baby. Peace.